strip them out so they loosely resemble wings.
Y'all making art out of an execution method. What's the whole point in doing this? Why are you making him look like some baby back ribs, like you're preparing him to eat? What's good, YouTube? Today we're gonna be looking at the most crazy execution methods that were cruel. Without further ado, let's get started.
So you really clicked this video, huh? All right, Here's some cruel execution methods.
Let's get it. Molten
Ever
metal.
had like a hot burrito or something, and you take a bite and you're like, ow, this is hot.
Yes.
Well, imagine that, but many magnitudes worse.
Is this a Taco Bell burrito? I don't think I've ever ate like a hot Taco Bell burrito. It's always been warm or room temperature or just a little bit cold.
And even that wouldn't even begin to describe the agony of having molten metal poured down your throat. Created out of iron.
So this is what it feels like for Gucci Third Legs victims. This is what it feels like to be a Magic Johnson victim. I'm sorry. I'm not putting anything in my mouth. Molten metal? How do you even come up with something like that? Like out of every substance that you could possibly put into someone's mouth, you're like, yeah, let's heat up molten metal and just pour it on you. Like, why couldn't you just choose anything else? Maybe like lava, but molten metal?
Ironic symbolism, this method of execution was reserved for those who truly needed to swallow their pride. Take, for example, the wealthy Roman commander Manius Achilles.
Okay.
His papa, also named Manius, was a ruthless and greedy governor that forced harsh taxes on the general public.
Okay. By all means, you shouldn't be doing that. Not everyone has enough money to pay their taxes. I don't think the way to respond to that is by putting metal into his mouth. That's gonna teach him to swallow his pride. He's not gonna be able to swallow no more. No way y'all are attaching someone's execution method based off of their morals. That don't even make sense.
Well, like father, like son, said the people, fully expecting Manius Jr. to become a greedy butthole himself. That's one heck of an assumption to make, but condemning people to death for fun was kind of the thing to do in ancient Rome.
So he didn't even do it. He didn't even do it. Y'all just assumed because he was related to him, yeah, his ass gotta go too. As much as we have our problems now in modern society, I'd much rather live here than any other time period possible. Back then, I feel like they would just end people's lives just cause. And who would know? There's no cameras, nothing. This is the exact opposite of nepotism. I honestly would not want to be related to royalty back then because I feel like everyone was out to get you. Whether it's poison, whether it's a woman trying to sleep with you and just cutting off your balls. And these execution methods are just too terrifying. I'd rather much go out with an electric chair than molten metal.
After suffering defeat at the hands of Anatolian ruler Mithridates the Great during the First Mithridatic War in the year 89 BC, Manius was captured and eventually executed. When picking a suitable method to send Manius into the Great Bed Bath & Beyond, he really decided to go for the gold. Yeah, he just dumped melted metal down Manius's food hole as a testament to his greed and thirst for power.
Yeah, that's gonna teach him. Let's put our country's wealth into his mouth. That's a good way to go out. And why did you choose that? I'd rather have went out with a guillotine. That would have been much quicker. You want to get gold down your throat, bro? No one is gonna look at the way you went out like, oh my goodness, he went out like a boss. No, bro, this is stupid.
Power. So what the heck does ingesting molten metal do to the human body? Not good things. Not good things at all. Molten gold sits at around 1000 degrees Celsius, so the instant that the metal contacts the flesh, it will instantly vaporize any inherent moisture into steam. In doing so, the metal will cool and harden, essentially creating a big metal plug in your throat, causing suffocation.
Y'all think this is how LeBron feels? Yo, LeBron, I'm sorry, I apologize, I love you, I love what you do. The memes just got to me, okay?
Now here's a science lesson for you today. Science lesson! When liquids evaporate to a gas, they expand very quickly. Rapid expansion in a closed system, like say your body, creates severe pressure. Considering that your internal organs are not built for said extreme pressures, you can probably see where this causes a problem. But don't worry, it sorts itself out rather quickly because your organs rupture.
How does it even fit in your throat? I would assume like as you put it in, wow, Salah, could you not have given any other interpretation to put? Once you insert the gold in your mouth, like, would it not have just went outside of your throat? You were able to swallow it? There's no way.
The good news is that you'd probably pass out and die before you even get to the point of having your internals turn into a 4th of July display.
What's the next one? Immurement?
Immurement is just a fancy word for live entombment, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's one of those punishments that introverts would be like, oh hell yeah dude, until they realize that they can't go downstairs to get more Doritos, and that they're just probably gonna die in there. And if you've ever played Minecraft with your buddies, you probably experienced immurement firsthand when you came back to your room after mommy gave you your Ritalin. The practice was, unsurprisingly, mainly performed in the Roman Empire, but it has been seen in other areas like ancient Persia.
That's gotta gotta be the most lamest way to go out. You're just stuck in somewhere forever. Matter of fact, the golden throat method, what I meant to say was the molten metal torture. I'd rather have went through that. At least the other dude could say I went out with a heart of gold or some shit.
Persia, or Mongolia. Man, who do they put in charge of coming up with all these execution ideas?
I love my job.
This signature send-off method was usually reserved for virgin priestesses who were found guilty of breaking their chastity vows by getting on their knees and praying on some dong. However,
y'all gonna immure girls just because they wanted some dick? Yo, that's the problem with y'all, bro. Back then, you had to be a saint. Y'all understand people could sin, right? I mean, they shouldn't, but like, you know, that's the whole point of asking, you know, God for forgiveness. Why was it back then one mistake and you're out? Yo, I would have been terrified to do anything back then.
there is historical evidence to suggest that it was used in other ways too, like mass entombment for prisoners of war, a punishment for thieves, or even just silly self-sacrifice in fellers who voluntarily walled themselves in for religious purposes.
This is supposed to be a cruel execution method, and you're doing this for fun. I don't think I'm gonna ever be like, ah, damn, bro. Let me just put my head in this guillotine. Let it just do what it gotta do. This is gonna be my meditation tactic. Why would you want to go out like this?
Or just because they don't like people.
Yeah, fuck off.
So yeah, all those poor unfortunate souls would be sealed in a room no bigger than a New York apartment, while the lucky ones were placed in something a little bit more reasonable. Being completely sealed in means there's no light.
And that New York apartment probably cost like about $5,000. At least with Immurement, it's free.
Souls would be sealed in a room no bigger than a New York apartment, while the lucky ones were placed in something a little bit more reasonable. Being completely sealed in means there's no light, no sound, or fresh air. So don't Dutch oven yourself.
Damn it.
Being isolated.
Is it weird to say that when I was younger, I used to actually like smelling my farts? Like I used to cup my farts and smell them. Now I view that shit as disgusting, but back then, bro, I was like, why not? Why not? A little sniff didn't hurt anybody.
Just left to lose your goddamn mind in complete darkness and silence as your body wastes away from starvation and dehydration. Unless, of course, you accidentally trip over a rock and whack your melon on the stone wall.
Death by tree.
Trees are pretty useful. They convert carbon dioxide into oxygen, can be used for building materials, and can even help you execute your enemies.
Insane animation right here. Don't let Logan Paul see this. He might want to take a picture.
Oh, you didn't know that last one? Well, let me explain. Sure, you could convert your enemies to a cool wind chime on a tree, but why not go all out? That's what Roman Emperor Aurelian thought, at least. Being emperor and all, Aurelian was a bit of a control freak. He demanded only the...
This is so stupid to me, bro. Do y'all know when society decided not to want to put armors on their soldiers? Because this is so idiotic to me. Why would you want to put gold in your body and whatnot? This is obviously going to slow you down. And why would you put armor on your horse? You know that the horse is just going to go slower, right?
Finest behavior from his numerous army soldiers. That being the case, any thoughts of drinking, gambling, stealing, pillaging, and, you know, all the stuff soldiers typically did were tossed out the window. Every man was expected to be in tip-top shape with their armor polished and their weapons sharp at a moment's notice. So it was just an army of a bunch of lame straight-edge dorks. Bit of a buzzkill, right? Those who refused to follow such protocols were setting themselves up for some severe punishment, and not even the kind that some people would find fun. Except this guy.
Yo, I love your animations, it's funny. But get this freak ass man out of here. I don't need to see this drawing ever again.
For example, one soldier decided to have a fellow soldier's wife polish his spear in private. But the spear was his wiener, and in Aurelian's all-seeing perverted eyes, that's a big no-no, and now he had to make a choice. How was he going to make an example of this man to his fellow soldiers? Well, any good leader is resourceful, so why not harness the power of Mother Nature to do the trick? Oh look, 2 trees. What are you gonna do with those? Tie me to each one and have them rip me apart? That is what he's gonna do. As a reasonable punishment, the soldier had his limbs...
See, that doesn't even make sense, bro. If you catch your girl cheating and you see her cheating and she's open and cool with cheating, taking it out on the man doesn't make sense when she was okay with it. I would never get mad at a dude that links up with my girl or links up with my wife, because at the end of the day, if your girl allows it, why would I take it out on the man? You just gotta take the L on that, bro, and move on.
Strapped to 2 young trees, which were forced into a bent, crossed position. Once released, the spry, springy saplings did a solid conversion of potential energy to kinetic energy, ripping the soldier.
I thought the blood was just gonna seep into his head. The force of the tree opening up is enough to like rip you in half. How bad did you have to get tied up? How much people did it take to actually do this? Now this is some D180. He had to get at least 30 soldiers to do the job on one tree. And these are some bendy ass trees.
And two, and giving visual confirmation that a lesson had been learned.
Wow. Boiling.
Hey, what's cooking? Oh, it's me.
Wow.
Well, I must have been a bad boy, because getting boiled alive was generally reserved for those who were guilty of murder. But the only thing I'm guilty of is killing some brewskis, am I right, fellas?
You see, like, at least if you're gonna punish someone crazy, let it be for something as crazy as murder, not getting cheated on or having pride.
Okay. Used in medieval Europe as far back as 1392, boiling alive was the choice punishment for other crimes as well. Treason, forgery, counterfeiting, thievery, grape without the G, swindling, you name it. Even the
Counterfeiting? You gonna boil someone for counterfeiting?
Japanese were on the hot topic of boiling their criminals. Legendary thief and Robin Hood equivalent Ishikawa Goemon was boiled alive with his son in 1594 after they tried to assassinate a warlord. I mean, what did you think would happen? Even though it's pretty straightforward.
With these drawings, I'm sorry, did the artist like try to actually replicate how they looked? Because I'm sorry, I'm not taking no warlord seriously with this cross-eyed. Anyone that looks like this, I'm gonna assume that you're like a drag queen. If that's what you were going for, hey, fire, I like the look. For some reason, I refuse to believe that this is how people were naturally looking.
Assassinate a warlord. I mean, what did you think would happen? Even though it's pretty straightforward, humans have found different ways to make boiling someone alive more entertaining. For instance, what liquid is being used? Water's great and all, but that's as boring as it gets. So instead, use something with a little more oomph, like oil or tar. Now here's another quick science lesson.
Another science lesson.
Water, as I'm sure you know, boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Sorry, fellow Americans, we're working with metric today, but you'll still get the point. Once a liquid reaches a boiling point, the liquid cannot physically get any hotter in normal atmospheric conditions, so it vaporizes to a gas. So in a sense, you hit a limit of pain able to be inflicted on your victim. No need to worry though, because you can always upgrade your cauldron juice. You see, oil has an average boiling point of 200 degrees Celsius, and tar can get up to 500 degrees. And when it's that hot, you'll easily be able to melt skin right off your victim like some tender baby back ribs from Chili.
How do you even enjoy things like that? I feel like seeing someone being put in pain would just cause me at unease. Like, I'd throw up seeing the remainder of somebody in some oil and seeing their bones just like perish away like that. I'll be like, damn, dude, I'm eating. Could y'all just do it away from me? I'm glad society reached a point where they were like, this is unethical. I just wonder how long it took us for us to realize this. Because I feel like after one instance of seeing someone like this, I would be like, no.
Please. Another way you can get creative is how you
Wait, I just thought this. They're dipping people in oil. And I remember there were times where I was cooking in the kitchen with my mom. And when you get that little dot of oil in your hand, RIP. So I could just imagine having to go full-fledged in. GG's.
you want to boil your prisoner. Want to just huck them in, slowly lower them? Or how about you just have them sit in there as it heats up? You know, there's definitely a small window in there where it actually feels nice for a bit, then the boiling happens. And that can get pretty hard to watch. Hey, do you think we should—
Hold up. Let him cook.
Insane way to say that terminology, by the way. I don't think that's where that term originates from. But I will say this. Imagine if someone was like, oh, bro, I'm gonna need you to oil up real quick for me. And then you getting all freaked out thinking you about to do something crazy. Just for it to just start getting hot out of nowhere.
Now here's where we get down to the real gruesome stuff. But this time, the Romans are left to the wayside. Now, we swing our attention to the Norse. You know, like the Vikings. They were pretty tame people, right? Right. From around the year 800 to 1100 in Northern Europe, the Vikings were adamant explorers that would often pick fights with people that they thought they could conquer, which was pretty much everyone, even themselves. They raided and pillaged and plundered in the name of their many gods under the polytheistic Old Norse paganism. Although a relatively barbaric and fierce warrior people, the Vikings did have laws to abide by. Insults and petty crimes were punishable by humiliations like public tarring and feathering, but the heavier the crime, the heavier the punishment. Cheat on your spouse? Lose a limb. Stole from a neighbor? Now you're their slave. Caught in a lie? Well, time to carry around hot burning coals for a while.
Oh,
All's
hell
well
no.
and good, but no punishment was as severe as the Blood Eagle. Being an execution
This reminds me of that one Naruto character. What's his name? Kimamaru, bro. Is this really a punishment, or are you actually waking up to a new form? Okay, judging by his hands, I think it is.
Of course, the goal is death, but might as well make it as agonizing as possible to really send a message like, hey, don't do bad things. This could be you. Although it was...
I know this is a drawing, but I pray to God that this didn't actually happen to someone. Yo, how did y'all preserve his body this well? What happened to his limbs? Did someone just like harvest them before?
was rarely performed, the Blood Eagle went like this. The first thing you're going to want to do is have your victim laying flat on their tummy like so. Then give them a nice pat on the back to reassure them that everything is going to be absolutely terrible. Get a nice sharp knife and plunge it into the back and pull through the flesh,
While they're up?
exposing the spine. Next, you're going to want to start breaking each one of these little ribs here. Give your chiropractics a try and just give them a nice, good crack. Oh, hear that? Yeah. That's what we're looking for. Now, just bloom those nice ribs out like a fresh flower. As a finishing touch, grab both lungs, don't worry, he won't be needing them, and rip them out so they loosely resemble wings. And there you
Y'all making art out of an execution method. What's the whole point in doing this? You're doing too much. By the time you actually finish this whole process, the person already passed out. They're goners forever. Why are you making them look like some baby back ribs, like you're preparing him to eat? Unless y'all were some cannibals, I don't know. You're literally doing too much right here.
you have it. One Blood Eagle. Please subscribe.
Scaphism.
Oh boy, Scaphism. Also
Okay, you know what? I'm sorry, I haven't been to school in a long time. My bad if I mispronounced some words.
called the boats. This was by no means a pleasure cruise. Imagine you're on a nice relaxing fishing trip with your dad. You're having a good time, he's having a beer, you're getting a few nibbles here and there, he's having another beer. You're excited about what kind of fish you might catch to make your old man proud. He's on his 10th beer, and then you start to realize something.
What?
Your dad couldn't be there because your parents had a messy divorce decades ago and he didn't get any visitation right.
Narrator, did this happen to you? I don't know. I feel like this scenario is just a little bit too specific for it to just be a narration. Are you good?
It's because of his extreme alcoholism. After that, you never saw him again until you buried him. You're alone in this boat. How long's it been? Days? Must be. You look down and you see your body in ruin. Open sores with flies and rats tearing at your flesh. You're festering in your own filth. And
Wait, how'd you go from wanting to fish with your dad to being in a zombie-like position? We was just having baby steps. We was having a good time.
the infection is spreading. You can't even feel it anymore. You can't feel anything anymore. Except that sun, that hot sun. Baking. Broiling. You look to the sky once more and there, you see him. You see him again. You want to reach out, but your hands are restrained. I'm ready, you say, with all the strength you have left.
Wow.
Hi, ready, he says. I'm Dad. That's kind of what it was like to experience Scaphism. Even without a tragic backstory, it was a pretty painful experience. Developed by the Persians around 500 BC, a victim sentenced to the boats would be tied down facing up in a boat. Sometimes there would even be a second boat placed on top, sealing the victim's body except for their head, hands, and feet, which were tied down. The victim would be force-fed and covered in honey and moo juice until they vomited from their front hole and their back hole. The boat
Front hole and their back hole. So diarrhea. Imagine feeling sticky 24/7. I feel like that's a punishment in itself.
would be cast adrift in a pond and left out in the sunlight. Over time, the foul odors attracted swarms of insects and rodents that would feast on the victim for days. The victim eventually passes away from infection, blood loss, dehydration, or starvation. One account had a soldier survive 17 days before
Yo, how terrible do y'all gotta be to make sure that someone survives 17 days with honey? Y'all had to bring him back, feed him, push him back, and you guys could stomach all of that, seeing how bad he was deteriorating. Yo, you guys gotta really be thankful that you live in this generation.
finally succumbing to his wounds. Brutal. Okie doke, that wraps up another video. If you're into more stuff
Amazing.
like this, you can check out
Amazing.
brutal torture methods here or
Great
any
video.
of my other content, really. I'll see you over there.
Great video. YouTube, let me know which execution method you found the worst. Let me know of any execution methods you guys know. Make sure you guys subscribe, road to 800K. Join us on Twitch, Wax for Life. Love y'all.